Kristen here with Ideas for Us, and today we're doing an amazing project. We're planting 1,000 trees at D Ranch Preserve, which is a conservation area that was bought by Conservation Florida. We're going to be restoring this land with a lot of native trees to help heal the soil and the planet. And we are so thankful to One Tree Planted for supporting this project and so many other ones. We have a huge community group behind this one today with Florida Rising and Islami Civic, and also, of course, Conservation Florida and One Tree Planted. So thank you all for supporting and coming out to this project. Super excited for the next one. Everybody, it's Kristen here with Ideas for Us, and today we're doing an amazing project. We're planting 1,000 trees at D Ranch Preserve, which is a conservation area that was bought by Conservation Florida. We're going to be restoring this land with a lot of native trees to help heal the soil and the planet. And we are so thankful to One Tree Planted for supporting this project and so many.
Keep getting bigger and bigger as more and more folks. So she'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but I just wanted to thank you all for coming out here tonight. A couple housekeeping items before we get started. As part of our ongoing commitment to health and safety, you all are wearing your masks, and we do appreciate that. Unless you're actively eating or drinking, so we don't want to keep you from those cookies. So have a cookie, have them at, you take it off of that, have a water. But we're hopefully getting close to being able to pull them down while we're in these meeting spaces. But for the time being, until we get past this level surge, we appreciate your cooperation. And so that you can hear everybody tonight, just take a moment to make sure your cell phones are silenced. I don't think I have to tell you guys that, but sometimes some of our guests need a little reminder, so thank you for that. And here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing, we respectfully ask that all participants keep in mind that all are welcome here. We ask you to hold space for differences in thoughts and values, and that all audience members listen deeply and actively, and that you suspend judgment while having the courage to raise questions and reflect on the information imparted. This is an interactive session, and you'll be finding ways you might be able to use as easels, so we encourage a lively participation tonight, and thank you for attending. And finally, as soon as this program ends, you will receive an email with us with a very short survey. As I mentioned, we are just getting up and rolling again, so if you can take a few minutes to fill it out, we'd love to hear what you thought about tonight's program, what other types of program you'd like to see in the future. Here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing, we are committed to programming that meets all of your different well-being well-being needs. So please do check out our Wellspring guide there as well, and let us know what other types of programming you'd like to see. So without that, and I do want to mention, the surveys are just for us internally. We will never sell them. We will never share them. They come to me and one other person, and we use it to help create these programs. So that's it. It stops here. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kristen Anderson, who will introduce tonight's program. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks so much. I cannot even begin to tell you guys how good it is to be back here. We've been on quite a journey with our hives online, another place here, but it's so good to be back here to learn with all of you and to create some awesome solutions to implement together. So like she said, my name is Kristen. I'm the Chief Branch Officer of Ideas for Us. And basically, if you're not familiar with us, we are a global environmental nonprofit, and we work to educate people on environmental challenges and mobilize people in eco-action projects. So we're not stopping at the problem, we are doing the work, the boots on the ground action to combat climate change. And our mission is to really develop, fund, and scale solutions to solve the world's most pressing environmental challenges. Now, this is such a broad scope, but it's not intimidating because we're able to do this by following this three-step model of educating, engaging, and mobilizing people in environmental solution projects. So education is an essential step, and that's what we're doing here today at the Hive, where we bring in different experts in the community to talk about different topics of sustainability and really give us the knowledge that we need in order to make really integrated solutions. So at the Hive, we have these conversations, and then at the end, we do a think tank where we ask you, okay, how do we implement this into the community? What ideas can you give us to do eco-action projects based on the knowledge that we just learned? And so that's where so many of our amazing programs came from, like fleet farming, with the ideas from you, the community at the Hive. This also takes a lot of different forms with different workshops so that we're able to cover a large scope of topics, but we're constantly engaging the community in education. But like I said, the unique part of Ideas for us is we don't stop there. We really focus on the solution and doing these eco-action projects. And so we develop these projects with our amazing team of interns, shout out to all of you here today. And then we mobilize volunteers to do those projects in communities around the world. And so this takes a lot of different forms. Every month we focus on a different pillar of sustainability, cycling between energy, water, food, waste, and ecology. And so this is so we can approach to a very complicated issue that is climate change. We're able to narrow it down into specific focus points so that we're able to do these diverse projects. So we have solar workshops where we train people in solar development, shoreline restoration projects. That's a really big one here in Central Florida because we have a lot of water quality issues, but we're doing the work by really just planting the sequestering pollutant plants right in the soil to do that work. Lots of tree plantings, waste audits, cleanups, urban agriculture through fleet farming and edible landscapes, and so much more. And we're actually able to do this through our branches around the world because we have such an amazing team of leaders. We have so many incredible branch leaders in our 12 international branches that are doing this work in those communities as well. So this is a very exciting time for us to kind of brag about the work that was done by our international and domestic branches. We did so much. Through all of our community gardens, we definitely harvested more than 8,400 pounds. That's just what we have recorded, and it's not easy to record that much, especially when it's happening on such a large scope. So that's the minimum. And over almost 5,000 shoreline plants installed, and that's in Florida alone. So all of that is in different ecosystems in Central Florida and Tampa Bay, really doing all these different areas that really need it the most. Over 3,000 pounds of waste, really taking every single form from water cleanups to park cleanups, and cleanups around the world as well. And it's always so much fun. Definitely going to be a lot of beach cleanups this year. And over 16,000 trees have been planted, and that's one of the most exciting things. That's probably the biggest number that we've reached as an organization, and it's just going to keep getting bigger. I'm hoping to double that number this year, and that's only possible because of all the amazing support from you all and from our donors and because of the leaders in our branches. So just take a moment to look at these leaders here. Kenya, Ghana, Orlando, Liberia, DRC, Orlando, Uganda, Nepal. Just everywhere. We're all doing this. We're all rallying behind this mission, and it's so encouraging to see. And we do this because we believe that this mission should be very readily available. We're all hearing about the end of the world, and it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do about it? So we create these spaces to kind of talk about it and make real solutions, and then do those solutions with all of you. And so we want to make this available in all communities, and we're so excited to have a really strong one here with you all today. So if you like what you see, please consider supporting by donating and also just joining us. We have a lot of cool eco-action projects coming up that I'm going to talk about at the end. So get engaged. If you have cool ideas, let me know. We can make an eco-action project together as well. We also have a podcast, so the education does not stop. You can listen to us talk all day long. We just did an awesome one with One Tree Planted that I'm really excited to put out there, so definitely be on the lookout for that. So we're going to do a little breakout question to kind of get us ready for today. So how far does light pollution travel, generally speaking? So you can talk amongst each other, kind of start thinking about it, talk about like, what does that really mean? What is light pollution? And I'll give you guys like a minute to answer this question. Within our atmosphere. thinking about it, how far does light pollution travel in our atmosphere, generally speaking? You know, that takes a lot of things into consideration that we're going to learn more about today. Just from a show of hands, how many of us think it's A? Cool. B? C? D? Okay. Some of you know my tricks. Trying to make the wow factor, yeah. That's crazy, and it's not surprising. I feel like I can be at the beach and I'll still see the sunrise, and it's just Orlando. All right, so we have a great conversation for you guys today with Steve Miller from International Dark Skies Association. He's not just an advocate for this stuff, he's also an amazing photographer capturing these moments. He's a board member for Audubon Park Garden District, the regional delegate for the International Dark Skies Association, and the chapter director for the Central Florida chapter of International Dark Skies Association. So he's really involved in the community, really knows his stuff, and we're so happy to have him here today. So let's welcome him up.
I'll use the mouse. Yeah, I'll use the mouse. Anybody notice how nice the lighting is in here? Nice and welcoming and warm, not too bright. It's not a doctor's office. If you didn't, you will after this presentation. So you'll notice that in every room or parking lot that you go in. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So welcome. Again, my name is Steven. I am absolutely humbled. Thanks, Katie. I'm absolutely humbled and extremely excited to talk to you guys. It's been a dream of mine to present in front of a group like you guys that actually get things done, and a bunch of, light pollution needs young people to pay attention to it, because it's going to be our generation that really starts feeling the effects of the light pollution that we're already creating. First, my personal housekeeping, I just want to thank everybody for donating their Thursday night for this and spending time with me, and also for Kristen for dealing with my busy schedule and helping me put together this presentation and everything, and of course, Jackie and the Center for Wellbeing for such an awesome space. I love this building. It's fantastic. So we're going to talk about light pollution. Anybody in here never heard that before? Anybody? You've all heard of light pollution before? Yes. That's why I like this group.
We had different definitions of what that was and different perspectives of light pollution in our small group.
I like this group very much. Excellent. Very cool. So, a little light itinerary. See what I did there? Yeah? Yeah? Hold back the laughter. It's fine. So, this is going to basically be our itinerary for tonight. I'll give a little bit of bio about me. Kristen already gave me a great introduction, but I'll touch on some of those just a little bit. We'll talk about what light pollution is. It's great that you guys already know what it is, but I'm definitely going to dive into light pollution a little bit so you guys understand what causes it, what are the consequences of it, how we can solve the problem, and a little bit about International Dark Sky Association and what we're doing, which will also tie into what you guys can do to help this problem and to help us. And then, of course, I'll follow up with a few more resources at the end. Cool map, right? Isn't that cool? Yeah? So that's me. That's my girlfriend. I've been a photographer established as a business in Orlando for 11 years. 2012 was the first year. And I'm not showing you any photos from my first year in photography because they are nowhere near how good they look now. But I've been doing this for a long time. I've lived in Orlando since 2005, which, if I did the math right, yeah, I did, good. I went to school at UCF here for Rosen College of Hospitality Management, which is not related to what I do relatively, or what my hobbies are now. I joined the Audubon Park Garden District Board. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with the Main Streets here and the Orlando Main Street program, but Audubon Park is our featured eco district in the area, which definitely touches my heart. Whoops, I gotta stop touching the microphone. I am an avid camping enthusiast, which kind of started about 5 years ago. I'd never really been camping before, and that's about the time I got into dark skies and really fell in love with dark skies and camping and being out in the middle of nowhere and distancing myself from society on occasion. So since camping, I've taken my photography talents and gotten into dark sky photography as a hobby, which is a totally different perspective of photography. You want to talk about natural light photography, talk about starlight. It's awesome. It's so fun. It's very difficult, but it is a blast, and that's how I actually learned about this problem in the first place. During COVID, actually, back in 2020, I helped establish the first local chapter of the International Dark Sky Association, which we'll talk about the organization, but it's the first time Central Florida has ever had a dark sky association. So it's big news, it's a big deal. And of course, the reason why I'm here today is I want to help save Florida's dark skies among a lot of other things. Oh, and also, almost all the photos that you'll see in here, if there's not a photo credit, are my photos. And disclaimer, some of these photos might be super wow awesome, and they're not photoshopped. So any of the photos that are mine, keep in mind that these are real, one shot, no Photoshop, no composite images for any photographers in the room. So, kind of sad. 2 out of every 10 people on this planet can see the Milky Way. And 99%, almost 100% of civilization in USA and Europe live under light polluted skies of some kind. Anybody here seen the Milky Way before? Raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. That's it. That's sad. Come on, you got to go see the Milky Way. And that's what makes me very sad, because the first time you see it, it's a game changer. It's incredible. Got to see it. That actually is a little sliver of it right there in one of my photos there in Ocracoke. That's her. There she is. One shot, no Photoshop. Definitely for the camera enthusiasts in the room, it's a long exposure. That's the Milky Way. In the summer, which is very unpoetic for the state that we live in, we face the core of the Milky Way, the center of our Milky Way galaxy in the summer at night. So it's a perfect time to see that in a dark sky place. In the winter, we actually face away from the center of the Milky Way. We face the outer band in the winter. So the weather is wonderful outside in the winter in Florida, but unfortunately you don't get treated to quite the night sky that you do in the summer. But that's it. This photo was captured in one of my favorite places to go in the state, which is Kissimmee Prairie Preserve State Park. Has anybody been there? Yeah? 2? I got 2? Okay. All right, only 2. Dang it. Come on, guys. It is a state park in south central Florida, one of the only dark sky places left in this state. And we'll talk about that. Beautiful, isn't she? What time of day do you think this photo was taken? Good guess. Good guess. It's about 2 a.m. Yeah. So all that light on the bottom is not related to the sun whatsoever. There we go. So we'll start with the basic definition of light pollution. Brightening of the night sky caused by streetlights and other man-made light sources at night, which has a disruptive effect on natural cycles for people and wildlife and inhibits the observation of stars and planets at its most basic sense. Some of the biggest issues about it affects our sleep cycles, migrations of birds, bugs, bats, and sea turtles, and that's just the scratch at the surface. What's very sad is that this is a very new problem, because basically in the past 150 years is the only time in our life, in our species, that we've had electricity. So we really haven't had this problem until the past 200 years. And look how fast it's changed. The lighting technology since we were born versus now is drastically different. So just imagine how quickly this has happened and how little time evolution has had time to adapt to it in all these species. So keep that in mind. Real photo. What is a natural light source at night? Somebody shout it out. Yeah, that's right, the moon. That's right. So before electricity, and relatively before fire. Fire is obviously a light source at night, but within reason. The moon is the only thing that would ever light up our planet at night, significantly. So I'll put that in there. And that's what we got now. So go backwards. That's almost a completely dark sky. Relatively the same settings. That's what we got now. That's what we live under. That's what most of us live under, relatively. And this is out in Groveland, which is a substantially darker sky than, let's say, City Center here in Orlando or Winter Park. So that's, ironically, this is actually an energy facility, an energy company, SECO. This is one of their headquarters out in Groveland. And I won't pick on them too much because they're not the only source of light in the sky. But notice how the clouds are illuminated, right? Clouds don't illuminate themselves. So anytime you ever see a cloud in the sky, either number one, the moon is out and it's being lit from behind, or it's being lit from underneath. But in nature, you should never see a cloud unless the moon is out, right? Does that make sense? Oop, wrong way. So a basic graphic definition of light pollution: light from the ground. If lights are pointed down, they reflect from the ground back up into space relatively. If you've ever been in an airplane and looked down at a city, you can see the light from a parking lot, even if the light fixtures are pointed down, right? But in most cases, some of the problems are lights that don't point down, and they actually shine that light directly upward. Most of this right here, as you can tell from the whatever kind of tower this is, how illuminated that is. But for the most part, that light travels up into the atmosphere, bounces off of clouds, absorbs into the atmosphere, and reflects back to our eyes and back down to the ground, which is why we see light pollution. Does that make sense? Cool. Awesome. It's like science class. Here we go. So here's two really good examples of what light pollution does. So from a distance, you can really see, based on the angle that the light hits clouds, where it's coming from, how intense it is. So, if you're ever lost at sea, as long as you're relatively close to some body of land, you can find your way back. Just look in the sky, right? So you can see where your big cities are, where the light's coming from. And this is a really good one. I took this out in New Mexico. This right here shows you how far light pollution will travel in the atmosphere. You can even barely see it. A cloud that's really close, you can just see the light tickling the back of that cloud, just a little bit. And this is what I appreciate as a photographer, and that's why I throw all these photos in here, is because I like to show with long exposures really what it looks like. Because it's kind of hard, and with the naked eye, it's a little hard to see this stuff because it's dark out there, right? Even light pollution doesn't necessarily show all this glow and color to your naked eye. So this is a really awesome way to showcase this and show you guys. Let me see. Yep. So in general, we'll talk about this, but in general, the way our lights and technology are going now, we're not seeing all this nice amber yellow light. We're starting to see blue. We're starting to see white. We're starting to see intense. And white light scatters much more in the atmosphere than amber, red, or yellow light. So keep that in mind. This is also what light pollution looks like here in Orlando. Not the city of Orlando, but this is the International Drive area. Always easiest to see light pollution on a cloudy night because all that light gets bounced right back down at you from the clouds. So this is uplighting for a parking garage. That's the purpose of this light, is to light the side of a parking garage. And there it is way up there. And of course the colors change. It changes to green, purple, red, yellow, white. Fun. This light fixture wasn't functioning, so this was a really good way to, a really good opportunity to show, without overexposing the ground here, just how bright the night sky is over near the Orlando Eye. So all the purple LEDs, what it's doing to the sky up there. Cloudy nights always are a really good way to look at it. Does anybody ever notice when you go to sleep that on a cloudy night your windows are a little bit brighter than a clear night? Yeah, it's a lot of light. From a distance, from the M bar, if you guys know where that is, here's the skyline, and this was a very cloudy night. It's gross. All that light going up into the sky. It's a lot. A really good perspective, again, is to see it from far away. So Kissimmee Prairie, the way the bird flies, is about 70 miles south of Orlando. And one of the ways that I raise awareness about light pollution with my business is I actually created this thing called Starry Night Sessions, really creative name. But what we do is I actually take couples out to a dark sky location. Easiest one is Kissimmee Prairie Preserve State Park, and show them what a sky is really supposed to look like. Most of my couples have never seen the Milky Way. I've driven plenty of my couples to tears when I build it up. I'm like, okay, guys, keep your eyes down on the ground, and then I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then we all look up, and that gives your eyes a little time to adjust to the darkness, right? When you get out of your car and your lights are on, you got to turn it off, lock it, stare at the ground for a little bit, and then we look up together. I've driven so many couples to tears before. It's awesome. They've never seen this before. And it's not their fault. People that live here and never go anywhere or never look up, I've been guilty of that before I got into camping. They never seen it. It doesn't exist to them. So for perspective, this is Kissimmee Prairie sky, relatively. That's Orlando, from 70 miles away. So if I took this exact same photo with these same settings, but just teleported 70 miles north, that's what my photo would look like. Nothing. Zero. Granted, we've got some clouds, so not totally fair, but it'd look the same. And this was a really cool star party too. This telescope is one of the biggest telescopes I've ever seen in my life. It's freaking awesome. If you ever have the chance to go to a star party, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute, but if you ever have a chance to go to a star party, you'll see some pretty awesome stuff in a telescope. I don't have a telescope, I don't have that much money, so. This is another, I did a little bit of a different edit on this one. I actually made a guest book out of this that I keep in my office for this couple. So when couples come and have consultations, they see this photo, they're like, wow, how did you get the sunset and the stars in the same picture? I'm like, no, no. And then I have to take 5 minutes and give them the whole light pollution speech. And then tell them, nope, that's Orlando right there. So it's funny, I try to do silhouettes, silhouette pictures here in Kissimmee Prairie. Every time I've ever faced south, I can never get a silhouette of the couple because they're lit by Orlando. So I always see the details of them, if that makes sense. So I always have to turn and face the light to get the silhouette. So it's interesting. The things you notice as a photographer, it's fun. So for honest, accurate photographer perspective, these photos were all captured with the same settings. So this is one of the darkest sky places I've ever been to in this country, Big Bend National Park in Texas, very west Texas. There's nothing out there. And that was one of the first times I'd ever captured the core of the Milky Way strictly by accident. That was fantastic. I thought clouds were coming in, and then as I photographed it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I think that's the Milky Way, because I didn't know what I was doing back then, and that was an amazing surprise. I almost cried. So that is one of the darkest places in the country. Now compare that, the glare from the projector, the glow from the projector doesn't quite do it justice, but compare that to Kissimmee Prairie, which definitely has a presence of light pollution. Now granted, this is a clear night, so we don't have any clouds in the sky this night. So not a lot, less of that light's getting reflected back to us. Now, compare Kissimmee Prairie to home. Isn't that nuts? Yeah, isn't that nuts? So, yep. So that's what we're dealing with. That's what we live under all night, every night, if you live here. So properly exposed for the ambient light, here's a beautiful photo of downtown Orlando from the Balcony Orlando. Shout out to that wedding venue, they're awesome. But how many stars can you see? I see like 4. So, and if I were to, from a photographer, like if any photographers in the room that would ask the question, well, why don't I just expose the photo more? You won't add any stars, you'll just add white to the photo because of all the light in the sky. So, if it's hard to picture initially that we could really throw that much light into the sky, but I mean, look, count them all. They're everywhere. Every parking garage, every street light, lights that don't shine down, lights that shine up. You can even, from a tall perspective, it's actually very easy to see all the lights that don't just shine down. So, gives you some good perspective. And if all the lights shine down on the ground, what would light the sides of the building, right? So, it's perspective. So, how did this happen? So, obviously, the obvious answer is as our communities grow, we get shopping centers, we get gas stations, we get new neighborhoods, we get more streets, we get more lights. So, a natural growth of light pollution comes from just bigger cities, bigger towns, places develop. We need more lights, right? New technology, oh, that's good. I can count. That's perfect. 1, and then 2. Disclaimer 2, PowerPoint translated this and started messing with all my slides when I brought it here from my computer. So some of this stuff's going to look a little funky, so sorry about that in advance. But new technology is a big one. Again, we've only relatively had about 150 years worth of electricity, right? So I think LEDs, don't quote me on this, but I think there may be like a 15-year technology, 2007, 2008, when it was relatively introduced into the mainstream, where we started seeing them in use. And since then, we've been able to add more color. We could say, oh, instead of old high-pressure sodium that we've had for 50 years, which are those old-school orange lights outside that hum when you stand next to it, you're like, oh my gosh, that thing gonna blow up. Now we've got white, and now we've got blue, and now we've got green, and we've got holiday lights where it's not just the casing that makes the color, but the light itself makes the color. Ooh, this is cool. And that's, I mean, just flick your finger relatively in the time that electricity's been around, and boom, now we've got it all out of control. And I think one of the biggest things, and also one of the most hardest things about this initiative, is fear. People are absolutely afraid of the dark. And the more light that we've lived in through our life, the more not having it scares the crap out of us, right? So when given the option to walk down a lit street or turn left and walk down the unlit street, most people are going to take the lit street, right? So we just have this, we've just trained ourselves to fear the dark. We can never be in the dark unless I'm sleeping, right? So that's a really big mental challenge that we have with light pollution now. And that ends up resulting in people saying, oh, well, more light must be better. So more light must be safer, right? So if I don't feel safe on the street, I need more light. So we'll get there. We'll talk about that. Whoop. Go back. There we go. So relatively what's causing the problem are the light fixtures that we're picking, the quantity of the light fixtures that we're picking, how intense they are, which way they're aimed, which way they're faced, color temperature of the bulbs, whether it's warm, white, blue. In a larger sense, an ineffective and sometimes absent lighting ordinance in your municipality, wherever you live, if it's a city or a county or a community. And again, fear. Fear. Everyone thinks and believes that we need more light to be safe. So that summarizes what this problem is about. This one's funny. I took this photo in Groveland. I was out doing, anybody know where Groveland is? You guys know where Groveland is? Yeah, okay, we'll get there. I took this photo out in Groveland. It's like it's on the cusp of Nowheresville, right? But it's just west of Claremont, if that helps. So there's nobody even living in this neighborhood yet. And the first thing on are lights. So one thing to note here, though, especially from my camera's glare, is that these lights they shine in every direction. 100% every direction. They're one of these. And keep this diagram in mind, too. We'll get here. This is really cool. I'll show you that. That just didn't make sense to me. So, the myths. More light at night is safer. The reality. More light makes the shadows in places that aren't lit darker, right? It's called spotlighting. Number 2, lights prevent crime. Criminals aren't allergic to light. Most break-ins in homes occur during the day, right? Number 3, you see better in white light versus yellow and orange light. Whiter light makes it harder to see at night because our eyes adjust more to white light than they do with amber and red light. So if you guys are ever if you guys have ever boated like on a cruise ship or something, or you ever been like a captain's quarters on a big boat, you'll notice that their cabin is red light, and they can't have any white light in that cabin because they need the night vision. So, or if you ever go to a star party, you'll notice that if you ever pull out a white flashlight, everyone's going to start yelling at you and telling you to go away because the white light compromises your night vision as opposed to amber or, in best case, red. So the whiter the light, the less you're able to see at night. Make sense so far? Yeah? Cool? Awesome. So what's the big deal? Who cares, right? So in my personal opinion, there are big 4 reasons why you should care about light pollution, what they affect. Public safety, wildlife and our ecosystem, which I feel like I'm definitely going to pull some heartstrings in here in that category, your own personal health, and of course our carbon footprint and how much money that it takes for all this light pollution. So the safety issues, I might be going nuts with the GIFs, I'm sorry. I like GIFs a lot. So again, we'll get technical. Bright lights adjust your pupils, they constrict. So if anyone's ever shown a flashlight into your face in the middle of the night, oh gosh, oh man, and now I can't see. Or if you get up to use the restroom in the middle of the night, turn the bathroom light on, right? Do your business, turn the light back off. Shoot, where's my bed? Hang on, crap, I can't see anymore. Because your eyes have adjusted to that light. And your eyes adjust to light quicker than it takes for it to adjust back to darkness, right? So the more light's in your eyes, the more your eyes try to adjust to that light. So when this happens, your perception of dark spaces or places that aren't lit are diminished. So as your eyes adjust to brighter light, that's a little bit less that you can see off in the distance, right? Does that make sense? Oh no. There we go. So imagine how dangerous this is in places where we cross the street, places where we bike, places where we drive, especially when people don't cross on the crosswalk where there actually is light, and they just decide to cross in the middle of the road where there might not be a light. White and blue light impacts this exponentially, even more. And unfortunately, that's where technology is headed, which is why we are here to talk about that. And these are real photos I took. This is, I'm picking on Groveland, but we'll talk about why. But this is a road out in Groveland that actually is fairly rural and doesn't have any street lights. So these are new LED lights installed right off the road. Can you imagine how much glare that shines right into your eyes while you're driving, while there's no street lights, while it's, any night vision you've had before you cross or before you turn this corner is gone, This is the problem. In downtown Orlando, we've got a lot of what I nickname them. I nickname them acorn lights because they look like acorns. I'm sure you guys have seen a ton of them before, but this has the least glare because it's at least up close. But they're everywhere. And actually, what's funny is the only direction they don't shine is straight down. So kind of ironic. But this is my quote. In areas where pedestrian and bicycle safety is absolutely critical, why wouldn't we ensure that, dang it, maybe I should have gone for the clicker, Kristen. Why wouldn't we ensure that we are not blinding our drivers and our pedestrians and shielding our light fixtures, and we'll talk about that word, shielding, and making sure that these lights are not directly shining into your eyeballs while you're trying to operate a motor vehicle, right? Makes sense. Here's a fun photo. So here's someone that installed a light at their house, right outside the front door. You see that all the time. Pretty cool. Keeps the house safe, right? Oh, wait, there's a guy there. Didn't know that, right? Isn't that cool? So when you, and he's in there. He's in there. This is basically a photo interpretation of when you shine this light directly in your eyes, now you can't see the shadows anymore. So if you're really thinking about safe light, it's using it responsibly. Not just light for light's sake is not safe. It's using it properly. So if you shield that light, or let's say you installed this light and pointed it down towards the ground to illuminate your sidewalk, you'd have a much better chance of seeing that creeper in the shadows trying to sneak up on you than if you just had light for light's sake, right? And we're seeing it everywhere. Now that LEDs are out, now that they're cheap, and now that your uncle can climb a ladder and go install it for you because it costs like $30 for a light, now you're going to start getting this. And your uncle's opinion of where that light should shine is now what shines down the street and into your neighbor's windows and at the crosswalk and all that stuff. It's happening. And LEDs are getting brighter and cheaper at the same time. You ever seen those commercials with the blue screen at the end with the 1-800 number? Order your super crazy powerful floodlight. And you see like grandma walking out and it turns on. She's like, oh, yay, this is great. They're getting brighter, big time. And I guarantee grandma doesn't install that with her neighbors in mind and make sure it's pointed down, not into anybody's windows. And that's where we get to light trespass. This is a technical term, very simple. Basically, it means your light trespassing on someone else's property, right? So if you decide to install a floodlight, but you point the floodlight out into the driveway and across the street into your neighbor's front door, that light is trespassing onto their property, right? So it's a very, very basic term, and we use it all the time in International Dark Sky Association. Very synonymous with glare and not shielded, if that makes sense. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a neighborhood I would not prefer to live in terms of light. Note where it doesn't shine. Isn't that funny? So, yeah. Anybody live in a neighborhood like that? With lights like that? Yeah? Yeah. It's not fair. And look how many windows. I mean, everybody's windows. So that diagram I was talking about earlier, there are few more little nerdy technical terms. Cutoff is a big word that you'll see, especially if you read through ordinances and things like that. You got non-cutoff, which is basically these acorn lights, which shines in every direction possible except for down. Semi-cutoff is if you were to put a small hat on that acorn light, so at least it doesn't point straight up, but it still points up in directions and down. Cutoff, where at least it just points out at 90 degrees. It doesn't point up above the horizontal. And then you got full cutoff, which is just down on the ground where it belongs, right? You see this a lot with LEDs because they're so flat. The fixtures themselves are so flat that you'll see cutoff a lot. So at least they don't shine up, but they still shine at the horizontal. I've seen some circumstances where people take it into their own hands and climb a ladder, probably not very safe, and take some spray paint to them. These are relatively in the downtown area. So it just goes to show you how people take matters into their own hands to deal with the problem. But probably one of the biggest impacts that we don't even know that much about, we're learning this as we go along because a lot of this problem is new, is its impact on the wildlife. One of my favorite animals is the bat. I love bats. They're so cool. And you do see them flying around Orlando, right? One bat can eat 1,000 mosquitoes per hour. That's freaking awesome. I love that. Bats are cool. And on top of this, I didn't know this until I learned this, but they are very valuable to the farming and agriculture industry. I actually didn't know that, but it makes perfect sense. And they actually serve as pollinators at night, because obviously they're nocturnal animals. But you've always noticed, especially super intense lights, you've always noticed bugs flying around them, right? So bugs are attracted to these because they mimic daylight, right? And of course, the bluer light we have now mimics daylight even more. And all these lights pull these bugs out of the sky where bats are supposed to eat them, right? So that's a really big problem. On top of all these bugs getting confused, getting stuck in this cycle of swirling around these lights, exhaustion, death. Here we go. And I think it's, you guys could probably tell me more about this, but we've got what's called an insect apocalypse right now. So all these lights do not contribute or do not help that problem whatsoever. And of course, with wildlife, everything has a circadian rhythm, right? Even trees, fish, bugs, lightning bugs. When's the last time you've seen a lightning bug around here? You go to Kissimmee Prairie, you see them. It's pretty cool. They are actually down here in Florida, but just not where this is. They're not here anymore, unfortunately. Turtles, right? Florida's got turtles. It's one of the first instances where the International Dark Sky got involved with the area around Florida here to help with lighting ordinances on the coast. So if you've ever seen those orange amber lights or you've heard strict rules about no lighting on the beach, yeah, we were part of that. It's really cool. And we also have a partnership with the Audubon Society, too. I'm sure a lot of you guys love the Audubon Society. I'd say 80% of birds that migrate in the United States migrate at night. And they depend on starlight and dark skies to properly navigate. And oh, do we mess that up. In the photo of Orlando where you've got 4 stars, that really doesn't give them much to use as a map, right? And in a lot of cases, they end up flying into buildings and skyscrapers that have their inside lights still on, which disorients them. One downtown high-rise in Chicago reduced migratory bird deaths there by 80%. Just one building. Like, we have so much work to do. So much work to do, but sad. One thing to note here, going back to the city of Orlando, what color is that sky? At night. Blue. It's blue. Next time you're in downtown or another big city, I shouldn't just pick on Orlando, but the next big city that you go somewhere, don't look up under a street light. I really don't want you to do that. That's not a good idea. But find a spot where there's not a street light, maybe in a park or something, and look up and tell me if you can see the color of the sky. Because we are at the point now where we're starting to light the sky blue because there's that much light in the sky. And that, in humanity's history, has never happened until now. So here we are. It's pretty crazy. And you can see it beautifully in photos. So, human health, how it affects you guys. Who here actually has lights from outside shining in their window at night? Yeah, that's more than any of the other questions that I asked, unfortunately. Nighttime exposure to artificial light has scientifically been proven to mess with our circadian rhythms and our melatonin production, which can lead to and has been linked to depression, obesity, forms of cancer. So much that gets messed up. There's a reason why our phones have a night shift mode now where our screens turn yellow, or the blue light glasses that we have now so we can still watch TV before we go to bed. All of that exposure to blue light is really taking its toll on us slowly but surely, and it impacts our ability to have a good night's sleep, excuse me. Oh yeah, we did, ooh, yay, I like this question. What is the bluest light source in nature? Oh, at night, not during the day. Come on. Nope, that was a good guess though. Come on, give it to me, guys. Yeah, there we go, boom. The moon is the bluest that nature has ever seen light at night, and that comes in at 4100 Kelvin, which we'll get to. Back to this one. I wonder what kind of night's sleep they get. Like, that's not fair, unless you get blackout curtains. Any of these people. Economics, as far as a carbon footprint is concerned, we waste so much light based on what light fixtures we pick, right? 50% waste from these fixtures right here just going up into the sky for somebody give me a good reason, right? No good reason. 10% glare, which is when you're walking up to it and you're like, oh my gosh, why do I need to be looking at that right now? I'm just trying to see the sidewalk so I don't trip and fall. And then 40% productive, which is all the light coming down. So, and being the geek that I am, and I'm not a lot of fun to hang out at the theme parks with, but I take a lot of photos of random light fixtures that I like. And these are sidewalk lights over at Universal at Cabana Bay. And these are cool. These are cool because they just light the sidewalk. That is their purpose. That's their intention. That's all they do. It's wonderful. I do that all the time. I'm not fun to hang out with when I got a camera in my hand. Fun fact, a proper retrofit of a city's improper lighting to proper lighting and proper intensities can offset the expenses of a retrofit project, like paying all that money to fix all the fixtures, within 5 years, and sometimes less than 5 years. So within 5 years, which is a very, unfortunately is a little longer than a political number, the city can start benefiting from the savings of proper lighting versus overlighting, if that makes sense. And it attracts what's called dark sky tourism, which is becoming a very big thing right now. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too. So which brings more money to the community. Yay. Yeah, there we go. Dark sky tourism. So like I was saying, I've been to a star party, been to numerous star parties at Kissimmee Prairie Preserve, and it's been fun to talk to the people that go there because they travel from all over the state. I've met people from Palm Beach, Miami, Apalachicola, up in the Panhandle. People come to this park because it's the only designated dark sky park by International Dark Sky Association. So people come here for the stars, and they bring their trailers, they bring their families. It's a night-friendly family activity, which is not so common nowadays. Oh, dang it, stop that. There we go. And it brings a lot of money to the local community. Okeechobee benefits majorly from the dark sky parties that we have here at Kissimmee Prairie. And they're a lot of fun. There's some fun, nerdy people that come to these star parties. And the stuff you see in their telescopes is mind-blowing. It's awesome. It's awesome. And then there's the whole perspective of, well, is it cool to see the dark sky? Take your 5-year-old kid and go show them the Milky Way and the stars that they don't see at home. It's awesome. It's amazing. And in my personal opinion, I don't really understand how we're supposed to inspire the next generation to go into space and to geek out about rocket launches and all that stuff if they can't even see it at all. And they don't even know what's up there. That's sad. Because I bet most kids that see these photos in textbooks are like, nah, that's fake. There's no way. And that's really sad. Not to mention the fireflies. I love fireflies. Okay, so one last nerdy thing, the Bortle scale. So this basically helps you look at light pollution in map form. So how are we doing on time? Okay, cool. This is light pollution in map form. So the Bortle scale starts at 9 and goes all the way to 1. That's how it's rated. 9 is us. That's Orlando. And it visually shows you how many stars you can see. That's 9. And then you work your way down to a 7, to a 6, which this is out in the little, when you start hitting the country, right? You start hitting the outskirts of Claremont, or you hit Geneva, if you guys are familiar with some of those, or south of Kissimmee, then you'll start hitting this kind of sky. This is where things get interesting. This is where, in my personal opinion, you can really start to see the Milky Way with your naked eye if you look straight up. So then you get to 4, you get to 3, which Kissimmee Prairie is barely a 3, but it's losing that 3, and it's about to become a 4 with all the growth around it. And then this is the stuff that makes you cry. This is good stuff right here. This is awesome stuff. I'm willing to guess that most of you guys have never seen this before. Yes. Was that a question, or you're like, yeah, I've seen that? Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah. So you've seen it. Ah, I love it. That's great. So now, take those colors, put them on a map. Isn't that awesome? Looks like a bacteria. Super cool. So here we are. See some of our biggest polluters. You got Miami all the way up the coast. New York, up there. Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles. That's a really big one. And then here's us. Here's our local place in the light pollution map. So again, in my personal opinion, using this map, I've used this map a lot for some road trips. And it's actually very accurate. Once you hit bright yellow, that's where you can start to see the Milky Way with your naked eye, assuming you're not under any street lights that would inhibit your view. So we're in trouble. And global statistic, light pollution increases 2% every year, every single year. So if I had a way to show you 2012 to 2022, you'd see it grow. Kissimmee Prairie is actually down here, and it's like a little tiny sliver of a blue that's left, and it's very close to losing it. Up in Cedar Key, if you guys have ever been there, Cedar Key, Sewanee, Horseshoe Beach, up into the Panhandle, Apalachicola, those are actually some pretty cool places to stargaze, but very buggy, very, very buggy. But, you know, it's interesting, the line. Somebody that understands maybe the environment can probably help me with that a little bit more, but relatively, if I took a guess, I would say that's where forest becomes desert, right? And where cities really start to spread out, where you start getting a lot more, I mean, agriculture's all around the Midwest, but you start getting more into the desert, the uninhabited, no lights whatsoever, and the skies out there are fantastic. Definitely the west side of the United States has an advantage with dark skies, but there is no reason for this. This is just chaos. This is just what colonized first and where all the lights started. And it's a real mess. But this gives you perspective on where we are. So, how do you fix this? Before you guys leave, there will be complimentary slingshots at the back table. If you guys just grab a pebble, start firing. Go for it. Wherever you live, go for it. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That's illegal. But it's actually really easy to solve this problem. But it's the political side of things that makes this very difficult. So IDA partnered with Illuminating Engineering Society, which makes lighting and construction standards within the engineering industry. And I'm being very vague with that, but they actually partnered with IDA and created the 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting. So if you keep these 5 principles in mind, you should be doing it right. Number 1, does the light have a clear purpose? What's the intention? Are you lighting a tree or are you lighting a sidewalk? If you are lighting a sidewalk, is it actually only lighting the sidewalk, right? So targeted refers to shielding and where you're actually pointing that light. Light levels, only light what's necessary. Don't overlight it because then you create dark shadows and you're creating an unsafe environment. Controlled, lighting should only be used when it's useful. So maybe you can dim your lights after hours when you go home, or turn the lights off at night when you go to bed, or put them on motion sensors, better yet. And the color, using warmer colored lights wherever possible. In terms of shielding, how am I doing on time? Okay, I'll go quick. I'll go really quick. Okay, shielding. Actually putting, basically it's like putting a hat on a light bulb, focuses the light down, keeps the light out of your eyeballs, and focuses it only where it's needed. And if you use lights that don't shine directly into your eyes, look how far you can see. If there was somebody that wanted to cause trouble walking up in the distance, you have a much better chance of seeing them and picking a different direction if you can see them. Basic, light trespass, right? Here's an example of light trespass. I'm sure you've seen these lights on the sides of buildings before, versus actually just lighting what's needed. Same with this. You could pick this light fixture, or you could pick that light fixture. Which one should you pick, right? But you're not seeing a lot of that today. So here's some examples of good shielded lighting. Maybe not in terms of the color, but the shielding. Sunrail Station does a really good job. These are still acorn style, but they only point down, as opposed to this acorn over here that's setting that tree on fire. Kissimmee, you drive down Kissimmee, you want to talk about pedestrian safety, they need that for sure, just like I drive. All their street level lights and pedestrian scale lights are all shielded. Super cool. I love it. Nope. And that's what goes in a lot of neighborhoods. I mean, what's the point of that fixture? It's supposed to light the sidewalk, right? That's actually probably the only thing it doesn't do. So, in terms of temperature, I'll be really quick with this, but if you guys have ever bought light bulbs, you probably noticed that it has a Kelvin, 5400 Kelvin, which is daylight, 2700, which is soft white. Relatively, that refers to the color, the spectrum. So candlelight is actually 1800. Soft white is right about here at 27. The moon is 4100 Kelvin. Daylight, relative daylight's about 5400, which is why those light bulbs say that. And high pressure sodium, the old school orange, which I think is in these old school orange, and over here, these come in at 2200 Kelvin, which is very eco-friendly in terms of the environment. But we're going this direction. So now we're introducing daylight color temperatures into a nocturnal environment, which is where the wildlife really suffers, big time, on top of our own ability to sleep. So intensity, that pretty much goes without saying. You should only really light things as bright as they need to be. That is This is probably the part that has the least amount of research, or like the least amount of answers that someone will give you on how bright a parking lot's supposed to be deemed safe, because then there's a liability if something happens. But here it is. Take a light, you should shield it first. Take that, make it a warm temperature, decrease the intensity to what you need, and you know what? If you don't need it, put it on a timer. And then this is just a graphic to show you the comparison between bad light fixtures, the ones that glare, and then ones that focus the light down. Kind of goes without saying, but it's good to see the graphic to be like, oh yeah, because I'm sure you've seen both of these everywhere, especially with LEDs. This is what we're dealing with now. Now that LEDs are cheap and easy to install, oh man, we're just gonna install it however we want. I don't even want to see this one at night. This one is at the exit of a warehouse. So you literally have to drive into that and turn right to get out of the parking lot. That's gotta hurt. This parking lot here, this is what it looks like at night, because all that light goes out instead of down. So I'd say more light goes out than actually goes down into the parking lot. And that's what you get. And that's what's happening. Look at that one. You can tell that one's shining more light out into the atmosphere than it is on the ground. So, and on top of that, you've got more intensity with LEDs, as opposed to these installs that actually focus that light down. So that's just one aspect, is what direction they face. So this is a photo that I took in downtown Miami, and it looks very similar to Orlando now in terms of the sky color and the brightness and all that. So IDA, International Dark Sky Association, that's us. It is literally our mission to protect the night from light pollution. So we have chapters all over the world. It is amazing to go to one of these conferences and talk to people from other parts of the country and talk about their struggles and their successes. We designate places, dark sky reserves, dark sky parks, dark sky communities. Places where we live can get dark sky certification. Even cities can get it. It all depends on how you advocate for this and how you manage the light pollution in your municipality. I will skip this, but basically what it says is not only do we protect the places that are still dark, but we also try to focus our attention in places where people live, where the problem is coming from. So there's two sides to this. More than 1,000 dark sky certified light fixtures that we've certified. 133 dark sky places. I believe this graphic is already out of date. I think there's more than that. We have over 64 chapters in 18 countries, 23 dark sky communities, and adopting strong lighting policies. So this is what we're working on right now locally. We have the city of Groveland, which I said, if you take Route 50, Colonial Drive, all the way past Claremont, all those car dealerships, all that stuff, downtown Claremont, keep going. It starts getting rural out there. That's Groveland. The first town you hit is Groveland. And Groveland has applied to become the first dark sky community in the state of Florida. So it's a big deal. It is a trendsetter. Basically what that means in terms of places where you live is you adopt a lighting ordinance, which basically strictly limits the lights that you can install on any new projects, new roads, new neighborhoods, which should hopefully prevent all those acorns, right? But it also limits your Kelvin, your color temperature, must be warm, must not exceed this amount of light per property, things like that. That's what a lighting ordinance does. And we also actively monitor the sky for scientific data to say, okay, it actually is getting brighter, it actually is not getting brighter. And this is the most fun part. Part of a dark sky certification is you have to host a certain amount of dark sky related events per year, like star parties or camping trips. I actually host a few dark sky camping trips myself through the chapter, which is a blast. You guys should join. Yep, I'll skip that. That's okay. So we're running low on time. But here's some photos from Japan of before and afters. This island, I'm not going to say it right, but Bisei town, they applied for certification and they had to retrofit their whole island's lights. But tell me, the before or the after is not better than the before. So much better and so much safer and so much more visible. This is what a lighting ordinance can do. And I'm glad you can see it on this, but there's literally a straight line right through the middle of the sky there that shows where the light stops and where the light is. And that's because of an ordinance for turtles. So if we can do that for turtles, why can't we do that for people or for other animals? I mean, I overexposed this on purpose just to show all that sky glow. But yet all that overexposure does nothing over here because there's really no light. Like they successfully kept the light off the beach. So that says something right there. Stuff works. So some other great examples, the whole country of Mexico has actually considered light pollution an official form of environmental pollution. I think that's a huge step. And now that will be regulated throughout the entire country. Pittsburgh has created one of the first dark sky ordinances for a big city of their size. And the entire country of France has adopted outdoor lighting curfews, including the Eiffel Tower. and has a temperature limit countrywide for any lights outside, which I think is fantastic. And of course, you have, especially with International Dark Sky Association, because we actually started in Arizona, there's a lot of communities out west that have adopted and become, adopted dark sky lighting and have become certified. So, here we go. Here's what we need from you guys. At a small scale, take a look at your own lighting, the lighting at your house, the lighting at your business, the lighting in your neighborhood. Analyze it. Does it serve its purpose? Does it trespass? Is it too bright? Can you not see dark shadows? Are you blinded when you try to walk to your apartment building or your home? Speak out to people. Speak out to your neighborhood. Speak out to your local community. Speak out to your government, your local government, and say, this is awful. I feel unsafe. These are actually not making things safer. They're making them less safe, especially as you see old lights get replaced with LEDs. See for yourself. That's a big thing, is speaking out. You guys probably know that more than I do, especially power in numbers, right? We could also always use as many volunteers as possible. For our educational events, we do table here and there at some festivals, especially ones focused in an for an eco reason. So we can always use help with our website, with social media, all that good stuff. And go. There we go. I will say that locally, I'd say one of the biggest ways that we can make this work is updating the City of Orlando actually does have a lighting ordinance. They had one as of 2014, which I give them a lot of credit for, but it is outdated, and to be honest, I don't think it's enforced very much on the backside of things if somebody actually decides to install whatever they want rather than what the ordinance tells you to do. But Orange County, I don't believe, has a lighting ordinance, and we need one. Stuff like that, Altamont Springs, Winter Garden, Winter Park, all these communities actually getting a lighting ordinance in place and actually enforcing it would make a huge difference because we live in such a big place. And we need some community support in numbers. We need help. We need people to talk about it all the time and bring it up to our commissioners and constantly talk about it. Bring it to their attention, because a lot of people don't know about this. They have no idea. But as soon as you tell them and blow their mind, they're like, oh yeah, now I can't stop seeing it. Every time I drive somewhere, I keep looking at these lights and getting blinded. Of course, we always need help with our dark sky chapter. A big problem is a lot of our underserved communities. Again, our mindset is more light equals safer light, but we're actually putting all of these people in underserved communities at a disadvantage by blasting their parking lots in their neighborhoods with more light than they need, which also is affecting their health down the road as well. So that's a really big problem. And of course, we need to stop punishing and sterilizing our nocturnal environment, because light is doing that. I mean, I don't even hear the crickets really chirping anymore. Not really. I haven't seen a firefly in a long time. I haven't heard an owl. I live in Colonial Town. I used to hear owls like 5 years ago. Haven't heard one in a while. So it's kind of sad. That's a fun one. That's in Winter Park. That one's about to fall off and hit somebody. I took photos one night for yoga in the dark in the city of Orlando. Doesn't look very dark. Not at all. And the moon was out, so there's that. But yeah, it was. I took photos with Daniel on that one just to showcase, like, it'd be nice if we shielded these lights and it could actually be yoga in the dark and be a much more peaceful environment for that. Just a small event, but make a big difference. If you guys want to read more about it, my favorite book is by Paul Bogart. He's a professor, and he wrote this book, chapters 9 to 1, like that. Yeah, starts at chapter 9, goes all the way to 1. And he talks about all the different perspectives of light pollution, starts at the brightest places like Las Vegas and works his way to dark places around the world. Awesome read. He talks about everything. One of my favorites. And, because I know I always get asked this question, where do you go for dark skies? What's your favorite place? That's them. By far the two darkest skies I've ever seen in my life, Big Bend National Park and French Glen, Oregon, which I'm sure nobody knows where French Glen is, but it's also why it's dark. So you can take a picture of that or ask me. I'm happy to tell a million stories about these places. But if you haven't seen the Milky Way, you gotta see it. It is awesome. Thank you. There we go. Whew. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was amazing. Love the photos, by the way. Normally we would do some questions right now, but what I think would be a really good thing is so we can continue doing the breakout session. I think you should just join both of the breakout sessions and just ask any questions that people have. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have you guys tell us what can we do about this. We're just going to pretty briefly do a quick one and just do two groups. So let's do the first 2 rows of people here and the last 3 or so and either sides of the room.
And so basically you're just gonna have circle up, get one of those easels, and just kind of start brainstorming and think of some projects that we can do to make this problem become a solution and we can be more like Mexico and everywhere else. So yeah, you can just have the first couple rows go to this side and the last few rows go to that side. And we'll have some designated easel writers. Yes, so yeah, you can just answer questions through each group because I definitely want to get them answered. But that was amazing. Fantastic job, yes. Oh, hello.
Was it a little?
No, that's okay. It's okay. Your makeup's gonna, that's all I say that.
That's it. I don't understand why.
think you get back day, you're like some kids, and you get fired yeah, some people are like
Hello, hello. Awesome. All right, everybody, finish up your conversations, please. Find your seats. Our dedicated speakers can hold on to their little post-it notes, big post-it notes, and share their ideas. So we're gonna do like 3 minutes each, max. I'm sorry that we have to rush you guys. Normally we'd have more time, but you know, it always looks different. We're always problem solving and stuff too. Normally we have tables that everybody sits out and has these conversations, but because of COVID, we had to limit to half capacity for your safety. So in the future, we are gonna be at tables and have these conversations a little more intimately, but thank you guys for being resilient and being able to do it however we were able to. So Carlos, I'll give it to you first.
I'm going to take this off a little bit so I can talk. Oh, perfect. All right, hello everybody. So we had an amazing group and we came up with a lot of great solutions. The first of which was to talk to property owners directly because they could probably contribute to a lot of the light pollution in developing cities and towns. Secondly, we had creating petitions and going around communities to gather a lot of signatures to basically go to city councils or city governments to show them that, hey, your residents, your constituents, your people, they are asking for change. And the light fixtures we have now are not benefiting us in any way and are pretty wasteful as they are, as we learned today. And then lastly, we have hosting community events as well as reaching out to local HOAs. Because I feel a lot of neighborhoods and communities, the HOAs are pretty powerful in making decisions within really small communities. So if we can go to them, and I'm sure citizens who live there are gonna be very willing to change the lights because it's right there in front of their houses. So it's a really easy problem with a pretty tangible solution that they're gonna see in their day-to-day life. So yeah, this is what we came up with.
Great. And the last one that I want to mention really quick is we decided to do a little dark sky camping trip as ideas for us, hopefully partnering with Dark Skies Association as a partnership event. But, I'm not going to make you agree to anything right now. Melissa, you want to come up and share yours? I'll hold it for you. You don't have to grab the whole thing. Yeah, if you come just pull that out. Yeah, sure, that worked. Awesome. I am the easel.
Okay, so similar to what Carlos just ended with, talking to your neighborhood HOA is undoubtedly like the most powerful thing you can do if you live in suburbia, because they meet once a week and they just talk about what the issues are. And most of the time it's open to the community as well, so people can just kind of show up and share their grievances. As long as you educate the community members and tell them more specifically about the benefits, both public safety and economically, it's totally going to work. So get into that. And then channeling frustration that goes alongside the talking to the HOA and, gathering the community. If you tell people like what the problem is, they're going to think about it and they're going to realize it. Similar to what we just talked about. As soon as we leave this building, we're probably going to be like, whoa, this is way too bright. So within the community. Campus lighting. I think every time I've gotten up, I've talked about something to do with my campus, because, I go to Stetson, and we're pretty eco-friendly over there, but I feel like every college is willing to take a more eco-friendly step. So if there's any students here, talking to your, college people about this, I'm sure they'll be willing to hear you out. Because I think every campus I've ever been to has just had way too many lights, and especially like on the football fields and stuff. So if we tell them it's actually less safe to have this many lights, they will definitely take that into consideration because they want to keep their students safe. Talking to parks, so just making sure that the park rangers and even just small little parks are turning their lights off well before sundown, just to make sure that the animals are having a good circadian rhythm going on. It's pretty important. And then we were talking about creating a motto or a purpose statement for this movement, and we came up with "Save the Night," similar to "Save the Date," And we're just, if there's a slogan or something, it's just way easier to remember as opposed to a big long paragraph statement about it. But save the night. I don't know, maybe we could send stuff out to people in the mail saying RSVP, if you join the group, we'll send you a eco-friendly light bulb or something that's orange. So that's what we came up with.
Awesome. I love it. It's really great because sometimes all you need is just a little education and a little movement behind these initiatives, and it happens. You can get a whole wave of people. All right, last group. Dominique, right? Yes, cool. I remember your name. And all these things, I love the Post-it notes instead of the whiteboards because we can actually rip this off and just have this, which is really great. And so I can use this for eco-action projects and planning. All right, you can go ahead and share. You want to hold it?
Sure. So the first idea that we came up with was involving the youth, scouts, schools, camps, etc. Just getting them educated, if I remember correctly. Anyone wants to correct me on that. The second thing that we had was getting elderly people involved because it's Florida. So when it comes to nursing homes and just retirement communities in general, if they notice the benefits of not having light pollution and so on and so forth, they would be more willing to talk to others about it and convince them and say, hey, yeah, look, see, it worked for me, so it'll work for you, blah, blah, blah. Number 3 was gradually improve broken fixtures. I believe that was in terms of the cities or the lights around the city or any other maintained area. Eventually you're going to have to replace the light bulb. So when you do, just have it so that whoever is replacing it replaces it with a better light bulb, or the fixture itself, if it's not one of the ones that this gentleman had up there. Number 4, encourage new dark activities, which I think is similar to what other groups had put up. Essentially, yeah, and the same with you all here at Ideas. And then, what was it? Oh, right, and the other one, number 5, was work with other nonprofits, environmental nonprofits, and any other groups, really, I suppose, that are interested in this kind of work to sort of get as much of the word out as possible. And I think that's about it.
Thank you so much. If you won't mind taking that back over there for me. Great. Well, we have some really amazing action items here today. A lot of it for you all. Talk to your HOA leaders in different neighborhoods and maybe change the lights in your house and take down your floodlights. And also some great eco-action projects that we just, planned today. Different camping trips and team building and just engaging people and making them realize what they're missing is super important and probably the next step. And then so much more. I really like the idea of gradually replacing broken ones. That's very doable. And we have some amazing community leaders like Lee Perry here that can do that stuff and make a movement for it. So thank you guys so much for coming. Really quick, we're going to wrap up with some awesome upcoming eco action projects. We have a swap shop on Thursday at Orlando Brewing. You don't have to be 21 to come, and it's outside. We're going to have accessories, clothes, all genders, all types. So please come out to that. They're always a lot of fun, and all of the excess clothing is going to go to Out of the Closet and probably Steps Orlando, which is helping women. And we're doing it in partnership with Alianza and Eco Preserve, so there's a great community movement behind it. Our next Hive is going to be with Self, so amazing leaders in renewable energy and making it affordable and accessible. So we're really excited for that Hive, so please come out to that one. It's going to be only a couple weeks because we had to move this one back a little bit, but the Hive often takes the form of, like I said, in tables and really discussion-based, so this is going to be a great one to come out to. We are also still taking interns, so if you want to be a part of our team and kind of be more engaged in creating these projects and making this stuff happen, we would love to have you join, especially some of the organizing interns. You can have as much or as little involvement as you want, depending on if you're getting credit for it, so we'd love to have anybody who's available join this movement. So now I have a bike rack. I have at least 2 people who want to come up. So Annie, I will go ahead and give you the floor first, if that's okay. This is a time for us to kind of give the other groups in the community to have a second to just share what your organizations are doing so that, we all know what's going on.
Hi, I'm Annie. I'm here to talk about Central Floridians for Public Transit. We're a community organization that advocates for public transit for fast, frequent, and convenient public transit. That's our tagline, fast, frequent, and convenient. We're going to be having a meetup on January 25th at the City Council Hall to do a public comment session on the transportation penny tax. We want to make sure that this transportation sales tax goes towards public transit rather than widening roads. The issue here is that, obviously cars contribute to climate change through using fossil fuels, but also widening roads tends to just induce more traffic. It's actually been studied that the more lanes that are added to the road, the more cars use it, because people see the roads and are like, oh, well, I can get another car, or my child can get a car. But really what the solution to this is to have more equitable, better public transit that people can get on at any time and go wherever. It's more efficient, it's greener, and we want to make it more appealing for people to ride public transit. So if you guys would like to join the email list, come and see me. We're giving out free stickers. If you want to support public transit with a sticker, we have free stickers, we have free magnets, and we have free pins. So come and see me, and I'll give you a free sticker.
Thank you so much. Mr. Finnegan, I'll go ahead and give the floor to you, if you'd like. I'm assuming that's what you wanted. Yeah, okay.
I
don't think I need a microphone. Is it okay if I just speak? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm Dave Finnegan. I was known for 40 years as Professor Confidence. My job is to go around to elementary schools and teach juggling. And back from 1976 to 2006, I sold over 1 million copies of The Joy of Juggling and The Complete Juggler before the internet existed. Now the reason I tell you is because if I sold over 1 million copies of a fatuous little book that teaches you how to do something silly like juggling, just think how many books we're going to sell for a very important topic, which is Green Actioneers. Now, Green Actioneers was created by UCF. Over 60 interns helped me create the book. The book includes a coloring book feature for the young kids, games and puzzles for older kids. It's in English, it's in Spanish, and there are quotations from important and known people about the environment throughout the book. When you say to somebody, what are you doing about climate change? They say, I recycle. Well, there's 100 things in here, and one of them is recycling. So these are the things you need to do. Think about it like drawdown for families. And so this book is going to be launched on April 22nd worldwide. What I want to do is get people like yourselves and folks who are in elementary schools or teachers or ex-teachers to get the school to have family night on April 22nd. That's a Friday. It's a great night for family night. And on April 22nd, all over the country, we're going to have elementary and middle schools holding family night when the parents come in and the kids and parents walk in the door, they get a book. Then they go sit on the floor. We're in the cafeteria or in the gym. They sit on the floor, they go through the book, and they find things that they know they can do. Then, one by one, the kids jump up and say the page number and the thing. So they say, buy products with less packaging, page 118. And then Professor Green, who is the person on the stage, me or you or any teacher or any parent, says, okay, kids, now look at your parents, and if your parents give you the high sign, jump up and say, we can do that too. Well, you got a whole room full of kids jumping up and saying, we can do that too. And then the next kid gets up, and the next, and the next. And pretty soon, we got a whole room of committed people. Now, I did this in Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Colorado without a book. All I had was a checklist. Well, the checklist is now the table of contents for the book. And it worked with a checklist. Just think how it's going to work with a book. So we're harnessing the two most powerful forces in nature, the love of parents for their younger children and the nagging power of kids. And we're going to put those two together and we're going to change the world, because that's the group. It's 1/4 of the U.S. population that is either those kids or their parents. And they don't know about what we're talking about. As far as they're concerned, that's all a bunch of blah, blah, blah on the TV. The parents are too busy, the kids are too young. This book does not mention climate change, global warming, or sea level rise. There's not a picture in here of a polar bear. This is all about success, what you can do. It's not, here's how bad it's going to be when we do everything wrong. It's here's how great it's going to be when we do everything right. So, give me a piece of paper with your info on it. I'll make sure you get, first, a free digital download of the book, and secondarily, a book to take around to a local elementary school and talk to them about getting it started on April 22nd. And if you want to go in and be Professor Green, please do so, because every school needs a Professor Green. And one of the outputs of Family Night is we start a green team in the school if there isn't one already. Okay, I'm Dave Finnegan.
Thank you so much. It's so amazing to see this just whole rally come behind this movement, from the kids to the adults to the cities to the community. It's just amazing. So thank you all so much for being a part of it and making this happen with us. A special thank you to our amazing host. Let's give them a round of applause for giving us this beautiful center. Would you like to come up and kind of talk about your programming coming up? I have one final slide, if that's okay.
Okay, no, I'll go right back to it. I'll be real quick. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. As you see here, we've got some QR codes, so feel free to scan it to our website, Facebook, Instagram. Tag us on social if you are posting anything. And we're so excited to have you guys back in person. I can't wait to see you next month. I did want to shout out one program tomorrow night that might be of interest to you guys. It's called Visible Climate Change, America's Changing Landscape, and it's from Rollins professor, Dr. Lee Lines, who's a geologist who partnered with a photographer, and they're going around photographing all the national parks to show the visible effects of climate change. That's tomorrow night at 6. If you happen to be free, we'd love to see you, but we're moving more programs like that in the coming weeks, so please stay tuned. Follow us on our website, grab that booklet there on your way out, and register for future programs. And if you have a moment, please take that survey like I mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That sounds really interesting, actually. I think I'm going to come out to that. So my final remarks to you all is just thank you. Thank you all so much for educating yourselves and being a part of this. We want to see you at our Eco Action Project, so please get engaged. Follow us on social media. I would love to talk to you about getting more involved. They'll be at the table in the back after this, and we have some fun merch for sale, for donation. So thank you guys again, and I hope you have safe travels, and I'll see you next time.